joining. We've got the lovely Helen Harper and David Stoller from Sanskrit at St. James School here today to talk more about the 2-year GCSE Sanskrit course. I am on the course. I'm almost completing the first year of the 2-year course, and so is Carolina. And it's definitely the best thing that I've done and the most rewarding thing that I've done in the last year. We've gone from reading the alphabet, learning the alphabet and reading the alphabet, to translating sentences from Sanskrit into English and from English into Sanskrit, which is quite a feat. And we're currently busy translating stories or sentences from the Bhagavad Gita. So yeah, it's a really fascinating course, and I find it really rewarding being able to look at Sanskrit prayers or mantras and understanding the grammar behind it and the meaning behind it. Carolina, if you want to share your experience.
So I'm on the course as well with Colette. A huge privilege to learn from David every Thursday evening. So if you're thinking of a progressive way to learn, something you do every week and you study in between and you're being held alongside and being told what to learn, and also not to jump too far ahead, not to get scared of Sanskrit too fast, then David is a wonderful teacher to help with that. And we are in a group of around 25 plus, so there's a support around the group members as well on social media, and also sometimes meeting for additional classes. So there's a really nice group dynamic which you'll be part of. So it's not a total solo journey, and lots of support, very kind support from Helen, who is always ready to help whenever there's a Sanskrit drama. So yeah, I would really, if you're thinking that you might have been thinking for many months to learn Sanskrit, and maybe now is the time, So it'll be a 2-year program leading to a GCSE exam if you wish to take it, and I think if you follow the steps, you'll be very successful in passing that. So that's our little student introduction, and now we pass to the teachers and over to Helen.
Thank you. Lovely, yes, lovely students, and tremendously good company in these classes. Really, really very special. I'm just going to tell you just a little bit about the work of Sanskrit at St. James for a very, very short moment or two, just to give you some context. So we are an outreach charity of St. James Schools, and they have taught Sanskrit to children for over 30 years, and I was one of the teachers doing this. Over this period, a series of excellent textbooks have been developed, and these are designed to take originally children, but also adults have used them as well, from the very beginning up to IGCSE level and even beyond. And 11 of these have been published so far. So 10 years ago, based on this work, a volunteer outreach group called Sanskrit at St. James was set up to work with and for the St. James Sanskrit department. Together, we offer help to other schools wishing to incorporate Sanskrit into their curriculum. We provide extensive teaching resources and advice, and we use our Sanskrit exams website for this purpose, and there's a constant support provided to teachers and students through that site freely. We offer lots of resources, much of them free, but some of the ones that are supplied for the classes are particularly designed for the classes, for the adult classes. We also provide information about the Cambridge public examinations, the IGCSE. We've got a website, 2 websites, the resource one, and also the one which tells you more about our work. We provide teacher training for school teachers where schools wish to institute the teaching of IGCSE in their curriculum. And we raise funds to sponsor less privileged children who wish to study Sanskrit. And over the last few years, we've extended more fully into the provision of classes for adults. Most of our teachers, and this includes David, of course, have taught adults for many years, as well as children, but for adults as well, and they're highly experienced at this. And most, I think all of our teachers have continued to expand, continually study and expand their own knowledge of Sanskrit through their own further studies. And of course, they have particular interests, such as Ayurveda, Jyotisha, and such like, philosophy. You know, I teach people in small groups studying Shankara. So yes, it's a very live situation. So I'm going to pass over to David, and he'll tell you more about Sanskrit today and the content of the classes and his approach.
Thank you, Helen, and hello, everyone. Well, we build this class in various ways, but usually with a twofold title, Sanskrit and Literature, or Sanskrit and Civilization, because as well as the linguistic course, which is very thorough, we do teach about the ideas behind or within the language, which cannot be separated, and from which, for instance, the Ayurvedic corpus has come. So that side of things, the cultural side, we call epic civilization, and that's quite important. But leaving that aside for the moment, the language is taught in a traditional manner. First of all, the sounds, and then how you write them. Of course, that's the sort of thing that should be happening when you're 4 or 5 years old. But we take it from where we are, and we've designed a course which gets you as quickly as possible to some form of fluency. Now, at the same time, and then after the reading and writing, both of which are full of beauty. So even with the very first sound, which happens to be ah, you've got beauty. It's the sound a baby makes. And the alphabet is like that in Sanskrit, very pure, very simple. And after the reading and writing, we move into the grammar. But all the time, we keep in touch with the very highest and best of the Sanskrit literature, particularly in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. When I helped design this course, I had in mind to get the students to the point where they could look at the Gita and understand it, with the help of a dictionary, no doubt, properly, have the confidence to look at it and to learn it and to learn from it, because I think it is a remarkable text. So every week we take a verse from the Bhagavad Gita and we look at it as far as we can. We start off not knowing much, and even being able to read it is a real achievement. But now, after nearly a year with the present group with Colette and Carolina, we're understanding so much more of the Gita, both the grammar and the words and the concepts. So that keeps, I feel that keeps the group, it gives a certain standard which runs through everything we do, because it is a sacred language, and that's the way I see it. Although I'm not sure I could put into words what I mean by sacred language, but I'm sure you will pick something up from that. We do stories. The whole course is based on story at first anyway, because it was first designed for children. And if you want to interest children, stories are the way to do it. So we have 2 books on the stories of Krishna, as a little baby mainly. And then the next, they're very, very simple. They're actually designed for 5- and 6-year-olds. And then we have 2 books on the story of Rama from the Ramayana. And that's a very good basis. Later on, and we've just started this with Colette and Carolina's group, we learn the mysterious and magic art of Sandhi, which is what Sanskrit words do when they meet each other. They're subtle changes. And the Gita, all Sanskrit texts are what's called in Sandhi. So that's an extra thing which doesn't exist in other languages, and you have to take on board. But it too is very beautiful, and our course is based on the work of the great grammarian Panini. So that's a very rough outline of what we do, and we're hoping that you will ask more specific questions so that we can tell you more.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. We really want to make this as interactive as possible. Just to introduce myself, I'm Sue. I'm president of the APA. So we were delighted to be able to host this for Helen and David and St. James. But I think the only way that we're going to do it is if you've got particular questions. And I know we were talking and Helen was mentioning how quickly the course is filling up. So it's not a kind of a sit on the fence one here. This is if you want to do it and you feel like you could give it a go, you're going to have to be quick because the place is, I'm right, I think Helen, you were saying there's not many left and it's not a kind of waiting to the last minute thing. So does anybody have anything they would like to ask specifically? I can see lots of black dots and I can't see much that I can say put your hands up, but feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question. Has anyone got any? Doesn't look it like.
Well, while people are thinking, can I make one point I forgot to make? And I think Helen might have made it, but it's something we have to be a little shy about, which is the amount of homework each week. So I would say this, that if you're not willing to do a certain amount, maybe an hour and a quarter a week regularly, this course isn't for you. You cannot learn Sanskrit on the cheap. There has to be regular practice so that it goes in, and this takes time. So there has to be a commitment.
Okay, I think that was it Kalpesh? Did you want to say something? Do you want to unmute?
I did, yeah. Thank you very much. I just wanted to ask if there's ever a case where you can't make the live lecture, can you catch up on it?
Helen, you take this one.
Yeah, what we find is that obviously it's better if you attend the class personally, because it is quite different to just doing something on a video. You can't ask your questions, for instance, and the whole thing of on a regular basis, you know, using a video, it doesn't work so well, and you don't obviously become part of the class in the same way. So, you know, it certainly isn't ideal, even though we send everybody the class recording every week, because just so that you can catch up if there's something that you weren't sure of that David said, or, you know, something about the topic you want to go over. So yes, you get it every week, but yeah, it won't work so well if you're not there on a, you know, obviously you'll miss them occasionally, but if you're not there on a regular basis, it is tricky.
And we haven't mentioned that there is a full series of videos covering all the topics we teach in their correct order. So to answer Kalpesh fully, you won't be left on your own. You can always catch up.
Oh, yeah.
Either by the recording or by the video or by getting in touch. I mean, I do the best job I can to answer people when they get in touch with me, but I can't equal Helen. She's a genius at looking after people. And without her, the group would well, I don't want to be sexist, but it would be without a mother.
Okay, we're getting questions in the chat box, which I think, Carolina, you're answering nicely as we go along. But just in case people are not seeing the chat box, somebody asked how are the lessons, and Carolina, you I think has put 2 hours per week, once a week plus homework. So then Margarita has said what day of the week, and Carolina, you've put Saturday morning 9 to 11, starting on the 23rd of April. And now we've got a new one. Can you start next year if you have other commitments currently, or if the class is full? Helen, I'll go over to you for that one.
Yes, of course. Well, assuming we still get enough interest to run a class next year, yes, that's the answer. We hope to, yeah.
Okay. Colette, am I missing anything? When this course starts? We've just said the 23rd of April.
Has Natalie got a question? She's got her hand up.
All right, unmute yourself if you have. I'm just going through the chat box while we were quiet. Natalie, can you?
Okay, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because I have a black screen. I'm also practicing learning Vedic chanting, and so I was wondering about the Vedic Sanskrit in comparison with the Sanskrit that we are going to learn in this course. Is it very different? Can you give some light on, shed some light on this topic?
David, do you want to?
Okay, well, you're quite right, Natalie, in pointing out that they are different. And for that reason, I have to say we don't teach Vedic Sanskrit. Classical Sanskrit, Vedic Sanskrit, obviously they've got a lot in common, much as Anglo-Saxon English has much in common with Shakespearean English, but it's a different study, and it's not, as I said, we base our course on the Bhagavad Gita. That's the sort of Sanskrit we teach. And Vedic Sanskrit was, well, I don't know if it's a matter of time, but it's certainly, we think of it as much earlier, and it has different forms. So I'm afraid the answer is no, we don't teach Vedic Sanskrit. We do a few invocations, which are very early from the Vedas, but that's just at the beginning. That's not learning Vedic Sanskrit as such.
Can I just say something here? My experience of this is that unless you've learned classical Sanskrit, you're not going to be able to learn Vedic Sanskrit because, sorry, I'm trying to take my finger. You need the grammar, you need all the forms and the basis. And that's my experience. You know, if you do it at university, certainly my experience is you spend time learning classical Sanskrit first, and then you have some chance of accessing, being able to translate Vedic Sanskrit. And it also depends a little bit on which particular Vedas which particular texts you're thinking of when you say Vedic chanting. My experience with some, I think it's TSYP people, is that they are brilliant. They learn Vedic chanting and they're absolutely brilliant, but they can't translate the texts. And so certainly in one of the other groups we have quite a few of them, and they are learning. They don't need help with the chanting, but they do need help with the grammar and so on. So, yeah.
Okay.
Can I just add something, because I don't intend to learn Vedic Sanskrit, but I think you answered by saying that this classical Sanskrit will help me. I want to practice the chanting, and I have my teacher explains, but I know it's I don't have time in my life for learning Vedic Sanskrit. But if this classical Sanskrit is going to help for the grammar, then that's a big interest for me. That's what I meant.
Yes, I've not come across anybody who actually teaches Vedic Sanskrit as such.
Yes, may I say that we don't do a lot of chanting in this course. And one main reason for that is it's impossible to do online because it comes out as a cacophony. People are in this course typically are from all over the world, and there's different split-second difference between receiving the sound, but it only takes that before the whole thing collapses into a mess. And while I'm speaking, something I didn't mention, one aim of this course would be, and that's one reason why we've contacted the Ayurvedic community, is it will give you what you need in order to look at the texts on Ayurveda, the Charaka and others. And that, I think, is one aim of you people in taking the course, is to look at what the original words are in the texts on Ayurveda, which is a very worthy thing to want to do, and we will do everything we can to further that.
Okay, can Carolina and Colette, I think because you're kind of representing us here, can I ask you both then? I know you're really scholarly and you love to look at all of the everything about everything, you two, but has it helped you? Because I know that's why you both wanted to do it, so you could actually get it firsthand. And I'm imagining by now you're getting some benefits out of it. Carolina?
I'm not there yet. I'm hoping to be there next year. It's definitely building confidence, but I think the grammar side of things first is being introduced in the first year, and that's it needs to build up slowly so that the text can be read easily, including the Sandhi, which we are just embarking on now. I think once we complete that, then it'll be much easier to read Charaka in Sanskrit. I think eventually we'll get there. That's my big hope and dream also. Colette, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just given me a much better understanding, because I think when we were studying Ayurveda before, you've got all these words and terms, but you don't understand how the sentence is put together. So I think now just looking at it again, there's an understanding of the grammar. So it's definitely very helpful, but I think also, I'm looking forward to completing the whole 2 years, and then I'm sure both Carolina and I will be able to read and understand so much more.
Yes, could I say that the first year you're learning basics, and we build in what we call half a term of consolidation. So you learn to read and write, you learn various points of grammar and stories and paradigms, which you'll find out about if you join us. Then we stop and we consolidate it. We look at it all again and move forward. And then we move forward, and Colette and Carolina don't know this yet, but they're beginning to feel it, I should think. We suddenly take a step forward into greater, if you like, complexity, but it's built on a solid foundation. And what they're going to do in the next year is much more than they did in the first year, because they're much more capable. So they'll only really know how to face a text this time next year, when they've covered all the different topics. It's an interesting structure, but you suddenly find you've got an enormous way forward by the end of the second year. And you can't really say what you're going to know at the end of the first year, although they've both done very well in trying to express it.
What's been nice, just to say that we've been doing something called epic civilization, and that includes a lot of Ayurvedic concepts. So David has been going systematically explaining the gunas, or, a little bit about the doshas, about pranas, tejas. So that has been overlapping, and hearing David speak from a Sanskrit perspective was complementary to what we have learned during the Ayurvedic degree. So that has been, for me, that has been very nice, because it's been bringing same terminology, but from different, yeah, from different walks, let's say. So the medical one from uni, and then now a different approach to it. So that's been very, very nice. Felt very good to me anyway.
And I can say that the head of faculty that I had when I studied Ayurveda, who is ruthless, and I don't mind saying that, and I'd say if it was here, Dr. Vijay Murthy, he took Carolina and Colette quite by chance. They were on a train ride with him after attending an APA meeting, and he decided to take the 3-hour train ride and test them and see how well they were getting on. And he told me privately that he's very impressed with what they've done, and he is a real Sanskrit scholar. I think he kind of came out of the womb speaking Sanskrit. You know, for him to say anything like that, he doesn't easily. So if he's impressed with them, I would say if any of you are thinking of it, it's good. And I can see that, is it Adriana? You've got your hand up there. Do you want to go for it? Unmute yourself.
Hi. Hi, Helen. Hi, David.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. It's really nice to meet you. I've actually already signed up for the course. So I'm really looking forward to get started. My question, I suppose I was hoping to have a little bit more of an overall view of what we covered during the first year. You've already done a little bit, but also in the second year, so that in my mind, I know very well how much, you know, to prepare for. And a second question, do we break for Christmas? Do we have holidays? Do we have...
We were going to meet on Christmas Day. No, we have, it's like school terms. It's based very much on the St. James's school terms, in fact. So there are holidays 3 times a year, and the summer holidays much longer than the others. So that you're probably aware of that structure. I don't know. Are you from England, Ariadne?
I'm from Spain.
Right.
I
So
do live
I
in
don't know what
England.
they do in Spain, but it's probably similar.
I live in England, though.
Yes, quite. I get that bit. But I didn't know what education you'd had.
Yeah,
Right,
I
okay.
think I've put the dates actually on one of the pages that relate to that main page with the course on. I think Carolina's put it in the chat.
Great.
Oh, well, you'll have seen the page anyway, the main page, because if you've applied. There are a couple of other pages. One, I think, says the teacher and the charity, and there's one saying the dates. So, you know, you'll see the dates of the whole course there, as far as I know.
But it is difficult to publish in advance the syllabus, because most of the things in the syllabus, you won't know what they are until you learn them. Do you see what I mean, Ariadne? So it's almost an impossible job.
You used to have a joke, didn't you, that learning Sanskrit was like, and now I've probably got this wrong, but opening a box with a spanner that's inside.
That's right. Opening the packing case with the crowbar you will find inside. Well, that applies
Right.
to a lot of
Thank
things
you.
in life.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay, we've got another hand up here. Is it Christina? Would you like to unmute yourself?
Oh,
You're on mute, Christina.
We can't hear. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Yes, it's better. Sorry. So well, I've got you also on the other one. Sorry. Just bear with me a second, please.
Now we can see what you mean about the chanting, and that would be really good.
Yes.
With, blowback.
You're on mute again, Christina.
Is this better?
Right, yes.
Sorry. So I'm sorry, but I've joined the conversation a bit later on the link. So I'm not sure whether this has been covered. I have already enrolled for the course together with my 12-year-old daughter, who is very keen to learn Sanskrit, but with her, I'm only covering the letters at the moment. So I was kind of curious to know what, from whatever class that has been already recruited, what is the kind of level of people with regards to the kind of Devanagari script, so that
No, you're not.
so that I can kind
you
of
don't assume you know anything, Christina. Everybody starts from scratch. If they know a bit already, all the better, but that usually means their writing is terrible. Someone else has trained them up. So we don't assume you know even the first letter of the alphabet, so to speak. So anything you teach, but I just hope, are you looking at the videos, or Helen will be in touch about that? But if you are teaching her, I hope it's the right sounds, because there are different ways of sounding.
No,
basically there's
my husband is Hindu, originally Indian Brahmin, so he kind of he guides us through the proper sounds. So
right, I just hope that I would agree with his idea of what the proper
okay.
Well, that's okay. And also there's the link that I send to the alphabet on the website. And
yes, I've looked at that as well.
Yeah, and I pronounce the letters there just the way we would. And I know
that's very good.
We know that there are variations as well, although David's very strong about it. We know there are variations, but
we do allow an extent, because that's fine. It's there's broadness there, but nonetheless, it's best if we all have the some sort of agreement to start with.
Of course. Okay.
And anything that people do know beforehand, as you're obviously trying to do, obviously it just makes it easier in the first term, because it's moves quite, steadily on. There are some courses where you spend the whole term just learning some of the alphabet. Well, we do quite a bit more. We start with the alphabet, but we do quite a bit more. It moves on, doesn't it, David? And
oh yes.
And although during the first term you get constant chances to practice, and we go over things and everything, and the the Devanagari letters, you do get a chance, obviously, to keep practicing them and everything. Nevertheless, it's, if you've never seen them before, it can be quite a thing just to get them all pretty quickly. So anything you've done beforehand's great. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Lovely to meet you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a question here. And it says, I'm sorry, I haven't got my glasses, so I'm peering here. What inspired Helen and David to study Sanskrit? And then how much are the exam fees? And I think, Carolina, you've answered that it's on the link, but somebody's asking, what inspired you to study Sanskrit? There we are.
Well, ladies first.
Okay, for me, it's philosophy. I was interested in philosophy, and I started just looking at the Upanishads, for instance, and things like that. And you get people teaching you in English, and being young at the time, and quite academic, I suppose, but young at the time, and actually a scientist, I wanted to know what the actual words said, not what somebody else, wanted to tell me about it. And that remains, because English translations just cannot touch the real Sanskrit. Sorry, David, you're...
Well, it's interesting you should say you came at it as a scientist, because I was an artist. And I fell in love with the script, even though the script is not as old as the sound by any means. And this was the buzzing 60s, when gurus were appearing, and new knowledge that people had never seen before became extant generally. And I fell in with that, and we joined a guru, and he began to teach us these concepts, and these concepts didn't have English names. And eventually we asked him, do we need to learn Sanskrit? Probably a silly question. And of course that led to learning Sanskrit, and there were all sorts of promises made about understanding. And I think on the whole, that was right. It was a bridge to understanding. So there was a heady atmosphere in those days. And as I said, I fell in love with the language.
Well, I think that your love, both of you, comes across, and it's interesting from an art and a science, and I think that is the whole thing. It merges and becomes one.
Yes, that's true.
You know, that you've got two different coming together there. I just think that shows it's got something for everyone. And as the lady was saying, she wanted it for chanting and the science and the arts. And I don't think there's any more questions. So I'm going to go over to Helen and say, is there anything you'd like to end with? And then David, is there anything you'd like to say?
I think the main thing I want to say is just how good the company is, that the language, the teaching, and the lovely people who seem to come from the yoga source and the Ayurvedic source, and people who are attracted to studying Sanskrit seem to be rather, very good company indeed. See.
Yes, I think Helen and I share a love of people. We often, perhaps we shouldn't say this, but we often discuss people's progress and together and take a great interest. And if there are difficulties, Helen particularly, but I try to do my part, we try to solve the difficulties in a way that's going to work with the particular person. So it's of great interest to me, and the sense of good company and companionship is quite marked. I think people they come well disposed, and that carries on, and that there grows an atmosphere of, we're very pleased to see each other on the Thursday or Saturday or whenever it happens to be. And we even get people coming earlier in order to discuss things. We open shop at 1:45 the time of the actual lesson, and that's nice as well. So I'll shut up there.
Well, I think you've both sold the course, and it sounds really very good, and I hope that this has been useful for everybody on the call this afternoon. And I look forward to hearing this time next year from a whole new bunch of people, and the people that are on here today, how well you've done. So unless there's any more questions, or Colette, do you want to say anything else, or Caroline?
Sue just there's been one more question in the chat box actually.
Okay, go for it.
What is the cost of the course, and are there concessions available, and do you have to take the GCSE?
Yeah, the GCSE is optional. I know when I did it actually with some school children years and years ago, I didn't want to commit until I'd finished the course. And that's perfectly natural. Some people are very keen because they want it as a qualification, and that's fine. But you don't always know, obviously, if you don't know how you're going to get on in the subject and whether you're going to love it. So we hope you'll do the GCSE because it helps support it in schools. But it's not it's something at the end. You're prepared for it, and then it's up to you if you go for it at the end. The cost of the course, there is a concession in the sense that what we call the early bird fee remains for Ayurveda, for your association, and there's a box that you can tick for that and pay that. We don't have scholarships. I mean, if you've got some very special reason, but we don't normally, because we keep the costs as low as we can already to cover our expenses, being a charity. But you can always ask. I think that's probably.
Yes, I just saw something in the chat box. We have said already, maybe you were a late joiner. Yes, there is a recording made it available to people soon after the group. And that stays alive for how long, Helen?
Till the end of, really till the beginning of the following term. It's not a thing to store up, as for the future reference, because we've already got videos, public videos for that. But these are for catching up during the course, extra study in the holidays, and then you move on to the next level, so to speak.
Okay. Well, I don't think there's anything else. So I'd just like to thank you all on the behalf of the APA for being here. And just to let you know, we do have regular webinars, which are quite interesting. If you look on the APA website, you'll see we have different speakers all the time. And what is the one, Carolina, we've got coming up, and when, with the Professor Dominic? I can never pronounce his name, please.
Wajastic.
Yes, so we have a webinar on Shushruta after Easter with Professor Dominic, who is based in Canada. And I'll give you the exact date. I'm just gonna make sure I don't get it wrong. So this is gonna be on Wednesday, the 27th of April at 6:30 UK time. So you're very welcome. We'll be having a great overlap with the people who are interested in Sanskrit as well, or studying the original Ayurvedic text.
Can I just say thank you very much for having us and all your support from the APA. It's all very much appreciated.
No,
Yes,
welcome.
yes, very good quality of students you sent us last year.
Well, you didn't get me, so you'll be all right, you see. You said you
well, Sue, maybe we ought to start pressing you.
No, my last Sanskrit teacher had a nervous breakdown and back to America. So, you know, I don't want to do that to you. We need to keep the course going, not kill it on the feet, really. So thank you very much, everybody. And we'll hopefully see you again. And Carolina is now putting all the webinars in there. She's so good at this. This is why we love her. Annie McIntyre, anybody who loves anything about Ayurveda or healing, they love that one because she's just wonderful. And I don't think there's a person out there that doesn't love Annie. So if you just want a gentle intro to Ayurveda and healing with flowers, that book is amazing. So please come along. We'd love to see you. So thank you very much, everybody. And good luck with all of you that take on the next course, and good luck to the teachers. So
thank you for your interest, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.